Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
I was going to say hello. Are you all right, mate? What's going on?
Yeah. Sorry, mate. I'm not allergic to you, and I have tested negative, but I was just I pressed my button and then went, oh, I'm gonna sneeze,
Mate, I thought there was something wrong with you. You were pulling an awful face. I didn't know. I thought you were about to have a moment, but it's all right, because do you know the best cure for a sneeze?
Do tell me.
It's a beer. Have you got one?
Oh, strangely enough.
Lovely. Cheers,
I felt it coming on. Cheers, buddy.
That's I'm not going to be sneezing for some time now. But anyway, other than sneezing, how are you, mate? All right.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week, a long and interesting week, because we've had our pumpkin carving and Halloween event this week. So we've been preparing. I say we, Verona. We've been preparing that, which has meant getting costumes together, pumpkins together, and set dressing, getting it all in, getting our hundreds of people carving their pumpkins and sending them off into the sunset with their jack-o'-lanterns. So it's been fun. It's I'm still in one piece. I think the sneezes, I might be allergic to the colour orange and the smell of pumpkins now, but that aside,
that's all right. You've got 364 days till it comes back again. So
yeah, I'm shaking already. I'm shaking. My hands are shaking already. No, it's been fun. It's been fun. It's always it's like producing anything. It's always a little bit stressful, you know. So, yeah. But so that's been my week. Mr. Dunning, what have you been up to? I hope you have been suitably busy.
Well, do you know what? It's been an interesting one from my end as well. More so sort of admin and behind the scenesy kind of stuff, rather than out and about as you've been. I did have an immersive show this week, which was great. But mainly this week, I've tasked myself with looking back over a script for a wonderful musical, because, and I've mentioned it a few times, I am lucky enough to be joining the cast of The Truth Stops Here again. So the musical I workshopped back in July, I think it was. And it's going out, the first fully staged production, because the workshop was done almost in a sort of a concert style to generate some interest and develop the show. But we're staging a full musical at the Isha Theatre in January. Very much looking forward to it. And would you believe it, Drew? That's why, or how I should say, I know our wonderful guests today. Because we are honoured today to be joined by the incredible Anthony Merryweather and the wonderful Emma Woodhouse, who are from the creative team behind the musical The Truth Stops Here. So we thought we'd have a lovely chat with them. And Drew, they're in the waiting room.
What, mate?
They're here. They're ready to go.
They're on the. They bought their ticket. They're on the station. They're in the waiting room.
I suppose we better let them in, haven't we?
I think we should.
Okay. Here they come now. Hello, good morning, welcome, Anthony and Emma. Thank you so much for joining us on Drewling Samantics. How are you both?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem.
It's an absolute pleasure. Lovely to meet you.
You too, Drew.
Thank you.
So I guess we should probably start from the top and get you guys to give us, for all our listeners and viewers, a quick introduction to who you both are and how you've ended up being at the helm of such an incredible musical project. So please explain.
Okay, thanks, Sam. So I'm Anthony, the composer and creator of the musical, and also the producer of the production that's coming up in a few months' time. And we are and Emma is my partner, and came on board in the writing process a little bit later on. And we are 2/3 of the creative team. The other third is Nick Paterson, who's really responsible for the book. He's not here today, so we'll talk on his behalf. So that's who we are.
Amazing, thank you. And I guess the other side of it is to kind of explain what the project itself is and how it kind of came about too.
Yeah, so I've had on the back burner an idea for a musical on the Underground during the Blitz. I've seen quite a few of those old black and white photos of people sheltering on the tube during the Blitz in East London, and it seemed like a sort of just this inspiration for a musical, really. But and also, although it sort of generally is quite a tough time for people, they were also very resilient, and there's photographs of people having entertainment and putting on concerts down on the tube platforms at night. So again, it seemed like a sort of perfect blank canvas for a musical. I also saw some photographs of an old tube train from the 1920s, travelling from Euston out to Buckinghamshire. And unbelievably or not, there is a restaurant car on this tube train. Now, the idea that we'd go down on the tube these days and have a slap-up three-course meal is perhaps unthinkable. But again, it felt like another sort of, that could make a really good dramatic piece on stage. Well, I never really got much further with that particular idea, and it feels a little bit like a scene from the Polar Express, where there's a sort of dance song going on in a railway carriage. So I was sort of looking for a story to implant in that sort of time period, really. And the more I looked into it, the more I read. It was then I stumbled upon a book that had recently come out about the tragedy at Bethnal Green in 1943. And the story there was that 173 people lost their lives in a crush walking down to the tube during the Blitz. And that was what I decided to focus the musical on. But I was also very determined that, first of all, we would sort of stick to the facts as far as possible and respect the victims, some of whom are still alive, but also make sure it was an entertainment, because at face value, that doesn't sound like particularly exciting or energetic material for a musical. And I think we've tried to, sort of combine that sadness with a lot of laughter and energy to make a really sort of cohesive story. Not that these things ever happen in a straight line. Obviously, there were tangents and piles of deleted material and songs that even quite late in the day got abandoned. But overall, once we started writing properly 2 summers ago, so we're now sort of, it was 2 years between starting the writing process and doing the workshop, which is actually pretty quick. If you look at West Side Story, it took 10 years to write. So we've all got other jobs to do as well, of course. So that's really the sort of background as to how it came about, and I'm very lucky to have worked with Emma and Nick on this as well, because these things you can't do them on your own, in my view.
Well, it's Sam.
Yeah, I was just going to say how actually it was the one upside of COVID that we all had a bit more time on our hands, and it was actually a really nice thing to be focusing on during what was a pretty difficult time. So it was nice for us to have that to do during lockdown. So it'll hold memories for a long time for many different reasons. Going back to it was hushed up, wasn't it? It was a story that was. I'd never heard it. I've lived in London for many years, and I'd never heard the story. It was the worst civilian tragedy of World War II, an extraordinary thing to be hushed up. As you say, an incredibly powerful story. Did it take much digging to find it, or is it there, or is it something that's been released, as it were, into the public domain?
Yes, because the Official Secrets Act was where the events, and there was a hearing and all the details were heard at the time in 1943, but then all that material was buried away. So the only people aware of this were the relatives or survivors. So it was almost a double tragedy for them. not only they lost loved ones, but then they had to suffer the indignity of a cover-up for the next 70 years. But some determined digging from a journalist, and a book came out, I think, in 2011 or 2012, which, I mean, it's quite a tough read, really, because it sort of relates in quite graphic detail how events unfolded that night. But we are probably concentrating more on the government cover-up than details of the crush. So although there is a sort of a song, well, not a sort of song, there is a song where a chap has a premonition about a disaster of that kind happening. So the audience never really see anything like that. We focus on the government cover-up. I mean, it is worth saying that their reasons for covering it up at the time, I think, were probably justified, because they didn't want Hitler deliberately targeting tube entrances, because that's where the population was sheltering. But I wouldn't say it was necessary to cover it up for the next 70 years.
No.
Right.
And when you think about the disaster, it as you said, Drew, it was the single biggest loss of civilian life in World War II, and it happened in a 2-minute period that all of those people died in that short space of time. It just beggars belief, really.
It really does.
Yeah.
Are you able to just give a little bit more explanation with regard to it? So obviously I know it because I've been in it, but for those who aren't familiar with the show itself, the synopsis, or sort of the storyline. So obviously it follows this great tragedy where 173 people lost their lives in a crush in a tube station. But obviously there's slightly more to the story of the musical, and obviously don't go ahead and spoil it because we're hoping that lots of people will go ahead and watch it. But just to give a little bit more insight into how it's adapted from such a true tragic story to what you would see on the stage itself.
Well, firstly, all the characters are inventions of our own. So nobody is based on real people, apart from the judge, played by your good self, Sam, yes. And also the Home Secretary at the time, Herbert Morrison. So everyone else is fiction. So really, we had to find a way of getting some of the detail of what happened and why it happened, and some of the accusations that were being thrown around as to which members of the community might have been responsible for causing this trip, or this accident caused by a member of the public tripping over. And there was a big blame game going on, and we are focusing quite a lot on that. But ultimately, there is I think quite an important twist, which I'm not going to reveal at the end, but that came quite late in the day, really, because we had so many sort of angles and so many people we could blame them, because this is all documented. Let's say they were going to blame Jews, they were going to blame Irish, they were going to blame all sorts of people, so we needed to find a way of sort of bringing many of those themes in. You've got to be able to understand the plot from right at the back of the theatre. And at the end of the day, it is, although there's those different angles going on, and there's a bit of a love story that develops as well, as there would be being a musical, it's still quite a simple plot that you can pretty much say in one sentence, which I'm not going to do now, because you've got to come and watch it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Amazing. And actually,
I think the other point, the other important thing is that we sort of focused on the sort of tragic elements of this, but because the characters are fictional, we can have a lot of fun with them. So the scenes that involve the factory ladies or girls, that is absolutely a moment of comedy and real contrast to some of the other more tragic elements. And then we have a lot of fun with the government element, who are sort of, it's in the government element. The way we portray that is entirely fictional, as far as we know. But we have these characters in bowler hats, singing in sort of 4-part harmony. I'm not aware the government normally goes around doing things like that.
I don't think we want to see.
No, exactly. So that's how we've approached it, and I think we've done it pretty good justice, really.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is something unprecedented on Drewling Samantics. So we're very honoured to be able to do this, and it's something that I think is absolutely necessary just to further cement into people's minds just how much they're going to want to go and see this show. So you have very kindly given us a couple of clips, which exclusive clips that have only ever been, I believe, on your social media briefly. So unless you're already following The Truth Stops Here on Instagram, you won't have seen these. So we are now going to show a quick clip from a song called Starting Today, which is basically about fighting back, not necessarily just about against the government, but getting the story out there and not being hushed up and hidden away. So we're going to cut to a quick clip now of Rosalind and Abigail performing Starting Today.
You and I stand together, fight the fight, no matter what they may say. Starting today. You and I stand together, fight the fight, no matter what they may say. Starting today. What if the fight back starts right here? What if the fight back starts right here?
That is, I mean, two beautiful voices and a very passionate and emotional song. Tell us a bit more about it, where that sits in the musical and where we are. Because I've not seen a musical yet, and I'm looking forward to January. Quick plug there. We'll have more of that later.
Excellent. That's another ticket sold. Excellent. This song is about sort of number 9 or 10 into the first act. And it is that kind of I want moment in a musical, except this one's slightly different. It comes a bit later. Obviously, it's a duet. It's two girls who basically recently met and both discover that they have their own individual reasons for wanting to find out the truth behind what happened down on the underground that night. I'm not going to tell you those two reasons, but they neatly bring each other together. I guess it's a bit of a twist of the performance that they're both identical twins. So they have to have their hair done differently so that we can identify who's who. But again, it's another song that's gone through many reincarnations. And, you know, as is often the case with the musical, you try one version and then you sit with it for a few months and then you go, well, actually, is that really good enough? And so it wasn't one that just came out in 5 minutes and it was finished just like that. It's gone through a few different versions, but I'm very happy with it now.
It's one of those songs at the end, you know, the hairs come off on the back of your neck and you goosebump. You know, it's one of those really good. This is a proper musical song. I take no credit for it. I don't do any of that. That's all him. But it is a real feel good. You know, really gets you into the story, and you really want to know more at the end of it. So yeah, it's a great song.
It's my favourite from the show. My favourite song.
It is beautiful, and it does make you want to know more. And when Sam and I talked about his involvement with the musical and the workshop in previous episodes, I did a little digging, and I'd say I didn't know this story at all. But if anybody wants to take themselves over to Bethnal Green, there is, I think, a very emotive, very passionate piece of architecture in the memorial. We call this episode Stairway to Heaven because I believe the memorial is called that as well. And it's 19 steps. People Google it and look at it, but then please go because it's beautiful. There's 19 steps with 173 people memorialized there. It's a beautiful, beautiful memorial. And I think it's something that you both feel very passionate about as well. Yeah,
I mean, I have seen it in the past because I've lived in London a bit, but we in the last 2 years, haven't really been anywhere much. So we've written this whole musical. There is a song called, well, the finishing song to Act 2 is called 19 Steps. I learned that there were 19 steps at the time of the accident from the book that I talked about earlier, but I wasn't certain there were still 19 steps. Anyway, we went to have a look once restrictions ended earlier this year, and there are still 19 steps. But the memorial is, as you say, very moving, and there's hundreds of people coming up and down that entrance to the tube every day. I guess they give it a glance, but probably most people aren't really paying any attention. But it's a beautiful thing. It's got all the names of the victims, and it's a sort of upside down staircase.
What I love about the memorial is that if it wasn't there, you would have no clue. There is nothing. Well, I lie. There's a little plaque above the stairs where the tragedy took place, and it's been there for a long time. But it's black. It's just been left to sort of rot. So if that memorial were not there, you would not have any clue that anything happened on that staircase. And it is the same staircase. That those 19 steps are still there. And yeah, I mean, if you walked up those stairs and you didn't know about this story, then you wouldn't. It's a set of stairs. But for us and for anybody else who walks on those steps and knows the story of what happened there, it's really, really moving. And there's definitely an atmosphere there for sure.
I mean, it's just worth saying that I reached out to the committee that were responsible for putting up the memorial a few weeks ago, because I felt, sort of as a matter of respect or information that they might want to know, that there is a musical about the events that night. So I'm actually going to meet, or we're going to meet the chairwoman of the committee that was responsible for its the whole project, but also the sort of future maintenance of it. I guess it needs cleaning or whatever. So we're going to chat to her later this week, and the plan really is to be able to support financially the upkeep of that, because it's obviously a charitable endeavour that they've got to keep going with. So we're going to see what we can do to support them, probably at the musical with a bit of a fundraising campaign, I think.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
That's brilliant. Wonderful.
And it is incredibly moving. The thing about that gets me is I've not been able to go and see it yet, but reading about it, there are holes in it. And there's one for every single person that passed away in the tragedy, and the light shines through. So it's been so beautifully created. So anyone that gets a chance to go and see or to read, please do. And not to sort of drag away from the tragedy and the sadness of the piece, but as you mentioned earlier, Anthony, there are some sort of funnier and sort of lighter moments to it. And we're going to jump to another clip now, which again is one of my favourite moments in the show. Amazingly performed by the very talented Ollie Paterson, who is son of Nick Paterson, one of the writers. And he, in this clip, is performing a song, There's Nothing Like the Gas, which is certainly one of the lighter moments in the show. So we're going to have a quick look at that now.
Keep your gas mask in its box full. One sunny day should survive the war as good as new. And if you should mislay it, best you don't breathe in, because there's nothing like the gas.
There's nothing like the gas.
There's nothing like the gas to put the wind off you.
There's nothing like a good ARP warden putting you right, is there? Brilliant stuff. It's what I love about. I'm so looking forward to coming in January and seeing on stage with, of course, my compadre there doing his stuff. But it's a great, isn't it? It's great. We and it's not in no way a criticism, but it's the good old fashioned British stiff upper lip. It's through all the thick and thin. The one thing is, there is always humour, and I think humour. Sometimes you need the humour to underline the tragedy. It's that on the flip side there is this, but there is always, and I think it frames it nicely. I think. Sorry, I interrupted you, Anthony.
I think the audience are being pulled and pushed through the emotions, especially in that second act. You know, from anger to sadness to laughter, like in that song you just saw now. And I think that's the way it should be. Just talking about the thing you said about stiff upper lip. What is extraordinary is that the night after the accident in March 1943, people continued to walk down the steps down to Bethnal Green to shelter at night from the air bombing raids from Germany. Can you imagine what would happen these days in terms of sort of the lack of resilience, and goodness knows what sort of health and safety measures would be put in place before people were allowed anywhere near the place again. So the very next night, just extraordinary.
Totally, that is amazing. That, yeah, but I suppose there was no choice. There was this aerial threat, and there was nowhere else to go. But talking of going places, I mean, the music. Sam and I are great. We're great fans of a segue on Drewling Samantics. And I have to say, just as a little byword here, just before we go on, talking of words, I spelt segue to Sam this morning, earlier on today, and he was shocked the way it was spelt. Weren't you, Sam?
Meltdown. I had no idea. I've been spelling Segway like the thing you stand on and drive. There we go. There's a lovely random embarrassing moment. Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, sorry. But no, I mean the music is going. You had Sam was during the summer in July. You had the workshop, and so I presumably before you've moved on. You go on to Isha Theatre in January. I mean, have you sort of gone back and done rewrites and scratched your heads? And I mean, I know from doing a little bit of writing that I've done in the past, you can never leave things alone, can one? One could never leave things alone.
Yeah, there were many versions that were called themselves finished version, and then
unfinished.
No, actually, very little. To be honest, following the workshop, we videoed it and watched it, and we had, we asked for constructive feedback from the audiences that we had, because people, they'll go, "Oh, I really like the songs." No, but we really want proper feedback here. Did you follow the plot? Were there some gaps? Were there some, relationships that weren't quite clear as to what they were about? What's that character doing there? Why have they said that? Was everything in the right order? And there were a few things, and we sort of went back and worked on scene 2 quite substantially. But the basic arc of the show has not changed. Some dialogue has been tightened up. We've got rid of a few anachronisms. There was a joke in there that involved, well, you'll remember this, Sam, about standing on the Berlin radio tower.
Indeed.
Well, someone pointed out it hadn't been built in 1943, so that had to go. But
7-Up.
7-Up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we changed that.
7-Up was being served in the pub, but it hadn't come across from America yet,
Yeah.
so that was binned.
But fairly minor things. The basic structure of it was remained the same actually, and just a bit of tweaking. And we had quite a few songs in the workshop where there was dialogue in the middle of the song, and we found that, Sam will remember, quite a challenge for the cast to sort of work on the timing, especially when you're using a backing track, which is completely inflexible. So we kind of got rid of that style of, so we got songs that are self-contained, then dialogue, another song like that. But the basic structure has remained the same, actually. So yeah.
So
before I go back to my script ready for January, that I don't have to relearn it all again.
No, the court scene that you're in, and also the pub scene, pretty much the same. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I believe is it the first full stage musical at Isha Theatre on that stage? Someone was Sam was saying so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It only opened in
September
last month. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're the first. So the guinea pigs, really. There's all sorts of other people appearing. There's Brian Blessed, Andy Parsons, They have big band nights, but it's a theatre that is sort of multi-purpose. So
Yeah.
they can have concerts, they can have rock music evenings.
We're going to see Journey's End there for Remembrance Sunday.
Excellent.
So it'll be quite good for us to sit in the theatre as audience members, to get a feel of the place.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's part of I suppose it makes it a little bit more of a challenge in terms of marketing the musical. Not only is it a new musical, it's a new space that even people in Esher don't necessarily know about yet. So there's going to be a lot of leaflet handing out outside Waitrose in Esher and Cobham, I think, to help the ticket sales.
Well, talking of that and ticket sales, you have been immensely kind to give us 4 of these very, very precious tickets for the show in January, and all our wonderful listeners and subscribers, downloaders, fans of Drewling Samantics have to do to win these 4 tickets is to listen closely, people, because I sometimes get this wrong. On Instagram, all you've got to do is follow The Truth Stops Here, which is this amazing show. Follow Drewling Samantics and like the image from this episode that will feature Sam, myself, Anthony, and the lovely Emma. All you got to do is like that on Instagram. Did I get that right, Sam?
It's close enough, mate. It's all right. I'll recap it later to make it a
okay.
bit.
Okay.
We'll
But
the youth side rather than Grandad trying to talk about computers, shall we?
All right. Yeah. this is the kind of thing that we go through. You know, I have to go through. So, you know, Anthony, Emma, you'll see why I stuck the little dig in about the segue there. It's just a little bit of quiet revenge.
I can't understand, mate. That they've worked with me. They know what a pleasure I am, and the fact that I'm very quiet and unassuming and don't say anything and just do as I'm told. And
yeah.
Why would you think any differently? But that does quite nicely relate back to something that I'd like to ask. It's almost not a bit of revenge, but it's a table turning exercise. So a lot of the cast members who were involved in the workshop and are still involved in the production in January were asked to give some, not necessarily feedback, but just some moments, some ideas about what we enjoyed most about doing the workshop, particular favourite songs and stuff. So I am going to turn that on its head and ask for each of you to answer the same questions that you asked me and some of my fellow stage members. Can you give us your favourite moment from the workshop, or perhaps even sort of predating that from development? And maybe if you've got one, a sort of fact that even I, as a cast member, might not know, something intriguing about the show that we can sort of leave our audience members with, so they're going to want to come and see it even more.
Wow.
Do you want some time to think?
I need a week to think about that. For me, I mean, I'm not a composer, I'm not a lyricist, I'm not a writer. I've been on stage, I've sung all my life, so I have a sort of general involvement. But for me, my involvement in the show has been quite fascinating in that, you know, that our kitchen table has been The Truth Stops Here for the past 2 years, basically. And I've listened to Anthony write the songs, come up with lyrics. We've chatted as I've cooked the dinner, you know, what do you think of this, what do you think of that? And then, you know, we've made changes, we've written things. But for me to see the show evolve from the kitchen table to the stage is really quite special. My favorite bit of the whole thing was, and having seen it from its infancy, getting to the point of workshop, to see that script come alive on the stage. Well, it wasn't a stage, but on our stage that we were using at the time, to see it come alive with a professional cast and to see it happen was really, really something. And on more than one occasion, I was moved to tears by what the cast were doing and how they were making the words come alive on the page.
For good reasons, I hasten to add. These words,
it was all good. And there is a particular part of the show, Sam, you'll know, and I'm not going to give it away, at the very, very end of the show. and without fail, every night that we did it, I was gone. And there was quite a few other people who were really moved by what we'd done and what we were seeing at this particular moment. So that's a very special moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what you said about the workshop. It was a real thrill to see the whole thing come together. I know the cast loved it because it was perhaps one of the first things they'd been able to do for quite a considerable amount of time, having had a sort of year and a half of lockdown or whatever. So that was a real thrill to to see the sort of transformation off the page into reality. I suppose a favourite sort of musical moment for me occurred many months before that in the writing process. And it's about the final song, 19 Steps, which you were, I think, talking about that scene just a moment ago. I'd sort of come up with the verse and what I thought was the chorus. And I was playing it to someone, because I'm a teacher, so I was playing it to one of my pupils at school. She said, well, it sort of peters out at the end of the chorus. You need to keep going with it. And I worked on these sort of 2 extra bars in the chorus for, I don't know, months probably. And then the moment I got it, then I knew, okay, I can almost hang the whole musical on these 16 bars here, because I know this is so strong and everything else will fall into place from that moment. So that was a sort of little tidbit that you wouldn't have known about, Sam, before the workshop. But I mean, I loved every moment of that week, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy the rehearsal period in December and the production in January.
But I think, at the heart of it always for me is this really happened to real people, and it never ceases to amaze me, as we touched on earlier. If some German war aircraft came over this country right now and dropped some bombs on us, I just don't believe that we would cope in the way that the people back then did. We'd be moaning that we don't have Wi-Fi and we can't watch Netflix, and what are we meant to do? And they just got on with it, and their good humour and their respect for each other. I think it speaks volumes of the people of that time. And I think, and as Anthony has said, we really hope that we honour those people through what we're doing here with The Truth Stops Here, and they are at the heart of it all the time.
Beautifully said.
I think you can probably feel that although the characters are fictional, you feel a real sense of heartbreak from the performances on the stage, and so it doesn't matter that they're fictional. They could have easily been real people,
and they probably are. They just haven't got those particular names or those they are real people, and those were the type of people that went through this.
Well, I mean, again, I will be there in January on the either the 6th, 7th, or the 8th to see that. So it's 6th, 7th, the 8th, Esher Theatre. Truth Stops Here, to all our listeners. And if you are a resident in London, or even if you're not, go and see this amazing memorial, because it is something that it is. As you say, it doesn't matter whether people are. There are 173 names on that memorial, and those people are there, and walk down those 19 steps and feel that. And I think, and then either before or after, go and see The Truth Stops Here. That's all I can say. I'm really looking forward to it, and I've so enjoyed meeting and talking to you this morning. It's been fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you both for coming on.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you both again. I'm so excited to be joining the cast again. And on a personal level, it was an absolute honour to be part of something so incredible, so moving, and something that I think just needs to be seen and heard. As Drew said, those 173 names, that they are real people. They existed. They went through this, and I think this is a beautiful way to honour and remember them. So do go and see it, and just give some time, because those 173 people gave their lives. So yeah, but Anthony, Emma, thank you so much for coming and joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I personally will see you in a month or so. But who knows? Drew will see you at the show, and hopefully many of our listeners will be.
I'll see you in January.
So,
yeah.
Thank you both so much.
First.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Do you know something, Sam? I thoroughly enjoyed that. I mean, I didn't know anything about the story, and hearing how Emma and Anthony put that musical together, the research they'd done, fascinating. Yeah. And I really am truly looking forward to seeing it in January, because I couldn't do the workshop in the summer, so I really am looking forward to that. Fascinating stuff. Great stuff. I said it's genuinely an honour to have been involved, to continue to be involved with something that I think is a very, very important subject, and genuinely will be thoroughly enjoyed by so many people. We just hoping that lots of people do go and see the show. And just to reiterate, 6th, 7th, 8th January, do come and see it at the Esher Theatre. It's just a stunning piece of theatre, really, really is. And I'm very excited to be part of it, and excited that you're going to be joining, mate, to come and see. Well, I mean, isn't it? It's inspiring as well, because Anthony and Emma were saying previously that the theatre's new. The theatre's only just opened. So it's inspiring that a new theatre is opening with a new piece of work in these, shall we say, straitened times. That is also encouraging as well. So another reason for people to go along, not just to support The Truth Stops Here, which of course we're hoping they do, but just to keep a new theatre, which is a very brave thing to do, but very inspiring. And I know how much you've enjoyed The Truth Stops Here, because it's earned you a little nickname, hasn't it, Sam?
See, they said this off air, mate. Which I
no. Nothing stays off air, does it? Let's face it. That's
Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, no, mate. No, but I think it's a compliment. I think it's a compliment, because ladies and gentlemen, listeners, downloaders, subscribers, all our Drewling Samantics fans, we were having a little chat off air before recording with Emma and Anthony, and they revealed that Sam enjoyed the process so much that he is now Sam, I love The Truth Stops Here Dunning. Now, I think that Sam, I love The Truth Stops Here Dunning is a compliment, because you did put a lot of work into that, and I've seen some clips from the show, and that is evidenced in those clips. But I think it's also that they appreciate the work that you've put in. It hasn't gone unnoticed. So I don't think it's something you should be ashamed or embarrassed about, mate. I think that is a name that you should wear with pride.
Wow. And do you know what? It's true. I do love the show. Genuinely love the show. It had been a while since I'd been able to do musical theatre because of the unwelcome guest and various other things. So to be back doing a piece of musical theatre was hugely rewarding, and particularly a show that I absolutely adore. It's a superb piece. So go and see it. And here we go, Drew. Check this out. If you'd like to go and see it, you might be able to go and do so that's not good English, is it? You might be able to do so, not go and do so. You might be able to do so without having to part with any cash. Not that you should, of course, think that that's the only reason you want to go. If you can afford to go, then please do, because it's well worth the money. However, you should also give it a go at winning some tickets, because the lovely Anthony and Emma have donated 4 tickets for one of the performances of The Truth Stops Here in January, and it's super easy to enter. All you have to do is follow The Truth Stops Here on Instagram, follow Drewling Samantics on Instagram, and find the image that's released with this episode on today, on Sunday, which is a picture of Drew, myself, Anthony, and Emma, and give that picture a like on Instagram. That simple, those 3 steps. Get that done, and you will automatically be entered into the prize draw for the 4 tickets, which I believe, Drew, we're drawing a winner in 3 weeks' time. Is that right?
Well, yes, it's we're going to give it a little extra time on this competition, because it is it's a new play, a new musical, and it's a very emotive and important subject. So I really want people to get on board with this, and we're going to give a little bit of extra time
Yes.
a little extra promotion for the production by keeping the competition running. So yeah,
So,
it's a great idea.
Get listening, get following, get liking, and hopefully get yourself 4 tickets to the Truth Stops Here.
Good luck to everyone entering the competition, and good luck to you, Sam. I'm really looking forward to seeing this in January. I don't know what you're doing, just sitting still, chatting to me. You should be getting your head in that book. Pitch perfect, word perfect performance, please, mate.
Well, I mean, what else would you expect from Sam? I love the Truth Stops Here, Dunning. I am fully committed. Don't you worry. I will be giving 110% to every performance. So
excellent, mate. Excellent.
Looking forward to it massively. So yeah. But speaking of looking forward, what have you got to look forward to, mate?
Well, a little bit of post-production after the hectic pumpkin schedule.
Oh, God, yeah.
But I've
rid of all your orange friends.
yeah, that's gone. But I've got a reasonably quiet week. But I've got a little short film coming up in a couple of weeks' time, so I'm going to be tucking into learning the lines for that. A little piece called "Stranger Danger," the little thriller.
Oh, intriguing. Are you the stranger, or can you not spoil it?
No, I'm just the danger, mate.
Oh, I'll cue him up and you just knock him out of the park.
Boom.
There we go. But yeah, well, it sounds like good fun. I, on the other hand, have got a mental week, lots and lots of immersive theatre this week. So all over the country and various different characters and roles that I'm dealing with this week. So it's going to be a busy one, but don't worry, I'll make sure I find time for a bit of line checking and singing as well, just to make sure that's all kept up to date. And do you know what, mate? I think we've had such an incredible show. It's been wonderful to speak to Anthony and Emma, and it would be wrong of us not to leave our wonderful viewers and listeners with one final clip.
Oh yeah.
From the musical. So I will say to you, Drew, cheers, have a cracking week.
Cheers, Sam. Enjoy.
At home. And we're going to leave you now with one more small segment from the finale song, 19 Steps, from brand new musical, The Truth Stops Here. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
It's not hard to see.
Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then please consider subscribing to our channel and you'll get notified every time a new video is released. Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app.
Please support us on other social media too. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe and we'll see you next time.